Hey everybody, give me just a second. I'm going live in two places at once, getting things together on YouTube. As soon as this gives me the okay that I'm live over there, then I'm going to hop into our card reading for Pisces season. Here we go. All right, we're in. Hello and welcome to the Elemental Entrepreneurship Podcast. I'm your host, Sarah, and I'm coming to you live today with our Pisces season reading for the collective. You know what? I'm not even going to give any announcements. If you want to hear what's going on, stay till the end. If you want to see what's going on and you're on Instagram, comment art in the comments of this video, and you'll get a DM from me that'll tell you what's going on. If you're listening on the podcast and you want to hang out till the end, I'll give you a little announcement at the end. But the cards are juicy. The tea is piping. So we're just going to go ahead and get right into it. If you are new to these readings, I do a reading on the first day of a new astrological season. Technically, Pisces season started yesterday, but technically also I'm on vacation. So this doesn't really count as work. I love doing these, and I wanted to just hop right in and make sure that we didn't wait several days for our reading. I do the same 6 questions in the same order every time. And this reading is for you if you found it. It's for my artists, it is for my creatives, it's for my entrepreneurs, it is for my rebellious spirited, free-spirited leaders of New Earth. Um, but honestly, if you found it, it's for you. And as I go through these cards, I never know exactly who these readings are for or exactly what the situation is, obviously, that is being described. So take what flies and dismiss the rest. So every single card in this reading tied together so powerfully, like the message is so clear and so consistent, that I was a little startled. So maybe you will be as well. We start always with what's going on right now. Where are we at right now in the collective? What's going on for us emotionally? If you see me looking in two places, again, it's because I'm live in two places at once, so don't mind me. And then I also have notes, so that's what's going on. Bear with me. So where we're at right now is beyond the mind, the heart beats. This card is about the difference in the quality of information and leadership between our head and our heart. The way of our mind is overthinking, trying to plan everything. It's very busy in there. It's very loud in there. And it thinks it's keeping you safe. That's what it thinks its job is. I have to think of every possible contingency. I have to always be on the lookout for what's happening, what could happen, because I have to keep us safe. It's going to prioritize logic over feelings and intuition. It's going to say, ignore your heart, lead with your head, right? And that is what society says. That's how we're all raised. Don't lead with your feelings, prioritize your logic, listen to your head, and dismiss your heart knowing, your gut knowing, your emotional knowing, your intuition as being less than your mind, less than thought, less than logic. It's not. It's not. But the way of the heart is quieter. It moves beneath the surface. It is sensing through life. That means your heart knows what's happening and sees what is in a situation long before your mind has caught up. But the wisdom and the guidance of your heart, it doesn't see, quote unquote, it doesn't know in the same way your mind does. It's not going to come to you in words. So we're going to dismiss it, right? Because we are also taught that non-verbal ways of expressing and knowing are not intelligent. And that is not true either, right? The way of the body is its own wisdom, its own intelligence. The way of emotions and creativity, that's its own wisdom, that's its own intelligence. It's not less than verbal. It's not less than math. It's not less than science. It's just a different type of knowledge. But our society has taught us that that type of knowledge is less than. It's not. So, because the wisdom and guidance that comes from our heart doesn't come from seeing and knowing, it's not verbal, we can really easily dismiss it. So, what's going on right now is that we are starting to realize, or maybe coming to sense, that we have to be willing to be open to another way of leading ourselves. Our mind sees, plans, strategizes. It tries to be clever. It tries to outsmart situations. The heart feels, responds, senses, intuits. So to be on a heart-led path in our life, we have to feel and respond rather than plan. And that is a very different way to live and create. It is closer to the earth. It's closer to source. It is more feminine. So we know why society doesn't prize it. And it takes a lot of courage and trust. And part of the reason that it takes a lot of courage and trust is because it's so countercultural, right? Everyone around you is going to be like, you're being illogical. What do you mean you're doing this thing that you have no data for because it feels right? It takes a lot of courage to live this way because everything around you and a lot of people around you are going to discourage it. So probably for your whole life, and this is also especially true if you've experienced trauma, which most of us have, even if it's a little T trauma, your mind has been leading and trying to plan your way through things. But in truth, the correct role of your mind, the correct status for your mind, is that your mind is supposed to serve the truth of your heart, not the other way around. Your mind should actually be serving your inner knowing, right? Your heart says, we want this. And the mind goes, let's come up with a plan to get you that. But instead, what usually happens is the mind says, we can't do the thing you want. That's irrational. So we're trying to flip it right now. That means your mind's job to let that happen is to create a spacious chamber of receptiveness where your mind can actually listen to and interpret your heart's wisdom, which is going to feel like dream interpretation, right? Your heart is giving signs, symbols, feelings. The mind has to kind of sort it all out. And that means you need to be meditating. You need to be journaling, not thinking and planning, not strategizing, getting very quiet and present with yourself and deeply listening. This card says deep inside, you know what to do. You know what's true. You know what you want. You know what's right for you. And it actually doesn't matter if your mind is arguing or if your mind is saying that the thing your heart knows doesn't make sense. The argument between your head and your heart needs to end, and your heart needs to win. It is time for you to let your heart lead. That means you have to get willing to trust your heart, your felt sense of the world. You have to rebel against the fear and the stories that your mind is going to give you. Because again, your mind is trying to plan, your mind is trying to strategize. So your mind is going to be like, that'll never work. You're going to get hurt. Don't go that way. This is going to end badly. Don't take that risk. Right? That's your mind's noise. Heart is faith and trust in what you feel and acting on that. Your mind and your heart have been in conflict a lot during your life, and that has been a cause of suffering for you. A lot of the places where you've struggled have been your mind and your heart fighting, right? Situations where your intuition knew something and you let your mind talk you out of it, and then you felt stupid after. Your mind tries to talk you out of the things your heart knows, and your mind says, I'm smarter, I'm better, logic is better. This oracle, this card says that either now or very soon, your mind is going to finally surrender and accept that letting your heart lead is the right way and probably the only way. When you use your intelligence to strategize on what your heart wants and how to make what your heart wants happen, your life is going to get so much better. You're going to be happier than when your mind is out in front trying to plan everything in advance and trying to keep you safe. This is going to allow your mind to get more relaxed and more trusting. It's actually going to feel like a relief to surrender into living and leading from your heart. There's going to be a period of adjustment. It's not going to be comfortable at first. Trying to live without pretending that you have so much foresight, right? And I say pretending because that's the trick of the mind. It thinks if it plans everything, you're going to have control and you're not going to get hurt. And so we get to pretend that we have all of this foresight about how everything's going to work. We're making shit up. We have no idea. The mind is just trying to make predictions based upon past pain. That's its job. Last time we went into that clearing, there was a tiger. Don't go there. The heart is like, but there's flowers. So with time of giving up pretending that you have so much foresight and you know what's going to happen, you're going to notice instead that you have more insight, you have more wisdom, you have more energy in the present moment to create. If right now in your life you're feeling like you can't plan or strategize the way you used to, like you keep making plans and all your plans fall apart, the plans that you're making aren't working, or you feel like right now you know less than you've ever known about where you're headed in life, then this oracle is a confirmation for you that you're exactly where you're supposed to be because you're in the process of this shift from head led to heart led, and that's where you're supposed to be. You are about to become more powerful than ever because when you allow yourself to be led by your heart, you're actually more in harmony with God, with life, with source, with existence. We're here to feel and to respond, not to know everything. That's not our job. So, what's the block to making this transition from head to heart? The block is going beyond normal. The block is that it's fucking weird to other people. Culturally, it's weird. You are literally at a crux point where you can either choose to stay in the mainstream and do things the way you've been told and taught to do them, or you can take on a bolder, more trusting, more authentic path, even if it seems riskier. This card is about like the juxtaposition between logic and science and like love and magic. And we can't rely on logic and science alone without incorporating love and magic, without becoming dried up. And creators, artists, we are not dried up. We are here to be rich, lush, juicy, abundant with life. This is really about balance. It's not about honoring one or the other. This is not mind or heart, art or science, intuition or logic. It's just about no longer living in a way where one side is always in charge and rules above everything else. There's a time and a place for logic and strategy and planning and measurable outcomes and data and metrics, all that shit. But we can't worship that. We can't allow that to be the only thing we pay attention to. We need flow. We need responsiveness. We need trust in the creative process, the co-creative process that we're in with source. That's how we create the most beautiful, abundant, successful life and work. You're being asked, right, to be open to taking a more intuitive approach in your life and your work and your art and your creativity and your spiritual journey. There might be a loose plan, but how that plan is carried out is going to be about responding to the flow of life rather than trying to control. So the block is you don't want to give up the illusion of control. You're getting pressure from the world, from culture, from your family, from your past, from your own conditioning to keep doing things the old way, to keep doing things the mainstream way, right? The inner voice you have in your head that says, that's never going to work. That's a bad idea. That's not safe. Don't do it like that. People are going to think that's weird. Don't quit your job. Don't start your business. Don't leave the relationship. Don't blah, blah, blah. Don't take the risk. But your best plan right now is to do the thing that feels intuitively truthful to you in the moment and trust that you are being led somewhere for your own growth because you are, right? The block is surrender, releasing control. This is freedom. Some people aren't going to get it, and that's fine. Your path isn't for them to get. Your path is for you. You have a chance right now to live from your heart, to be more deeply expressive than you've ever been before, to be more connected to your truth and your life path than you ever had before, or keep forcing, keep squashing yourself down to fit into intellect and control and societal expectations and conditioning. Those are the options. And the block is that it's scary. So we need courage right now. You may be lacking a little courage around allowing yourself to break with conditioning, to break with tradition. What you need right now is conviction in your own faith, your own truths, to step out of fear and live more freely and more lovingly. And when you do that, it's actually going to inspire other people around you to do the same thing. It's time for you to get wild with life. And that's going to require you to release your need to control everything and try to protect yourself all the time. And that feels very blocky, right? Like that's the sticky part. That's ego death. That's your ego saying, I don't want to give up my illusion of control. I want to believe that I can plan everything and everything's going to work out if I can just make the perfect plan. It's never been true. It's never been true. So now we're being asked to surrender and say, okay, I'm not even going to try to do that anymore. I'm going to live in responsiveness with what feels right for me. When we shift this block, when we give ourselves the courage to live this way, the gift is releasing allegiances. This is about letting go of others, letting go of old patterns, letting go of old ways of being and thinking, and holding on to yourself. This card says specifically you've gained everything that was meant to be gained from your past relationships and from your old ways of doing things. There was value there. You learned a lot. But when you're making this shift into a more heart-centered way of being, you are stepping into more creativity, more abundance, more growth. On the other side of this fear of giving up, this fear of letting go of control, it's gonna be really good. The other block here, as I'm feeling into this with going beyond normal, some of this letting go, this breaking with tradition, it's gonna make you different than your family. That can sometimes be a really sticky block, even if we feel estranged from our family. This is like, oh, I'm gonna get even weirder. I'm going to get even more radical. I'm going to get even more wild. I'm going to get even less relatable to some of these people, these old friends, these people that I used to know, this version of myself that I used to know. But on the other side of you doing that, more creativity, more abundance, more growth. This card says specifically, you've completed many cycles of the vibrational frequency you're at right now. Whatever it is you're at right now, like it's like you've done this a lot. You've been in this cycle a lot, and now it's time to release it. You have earned the right to level up out of habits and relationships and possibilities that have been available at that level. You have earned the right to move on. You're going to take everything you've learned with you into your new level. But first, you need to go through a period of solitude, of turning inward. And this isn't about being lonely, but again, this is about the listening, right? In order to move from head to heart, we need a period of deep listening. This is like a detox from other people's thoughts, other people's opinions. So if you always talk to it always comes up for me that it's parents. Like if you always talk to this one family member about what's going on with you, and when you do, they're like, oh, you should do it like this, you should do it like that. And you already know what they're going to say. It's like, don't talk to them for a little bit, or just don't talk to them about what's really going on with you. Talk about the weather, right? If you've been in a relationship where you have one person who's kind of domineering and controlling in the relationship, and your head is full of what that person thinks and trying to please them, you got to detox from that so that you can hear yourself again. You've got to be in a period of deep listening to yourself. You cannot orient yourself outwardly around what you think other people want or expect from you anymore and have the ability to lead from your own heart. You've got to orient inward. You need a period of stepping back from even your healthiest relationships just to refresh your spirit and connect with your own voice. This says you pay attention to your body, to earth, to life, to what you need right now. Like you've been outwardly oriented to what everybody else wants for fucking ever. And now you got to focus on you and like reground into the home of yourself. This is a time for self-love, for paying attention to yourself, for nurturing and holding and pouring into you, quality time with you, love affair with you. This card also says you've been working on yourself, you've been working on your personal growth, and it's working. Your self-love and your self-trust is growing. That's why you've reached this point where your head is ready to surrender, because you're starting to trust yourself so much more. You're starting to love yourself so much more. So now, right, what is love? It's the opposite of control. When we love someone, we trust someone, we're not trying to micromanage and control them. That's the place you're coming into with yourself. You no longer feel like you need to micromanage and control yourself. You can trust yourself. So your ability to love and connect in a healthy way with others is also increasing. And that means some of your connections can mature with you into this next phase and some will not. And you're going to know which one is which because you're going to be taking this time to focus inward and listen to your heart. I cannot tell you enough how strongly the medicine is coming through for me about Pisces season of like morning quiet time. Make your coffee, sit outside if you're somewhere that's warm enough to sit outside, or sit with a blankie around you. Talk to God, journal, meditate. Maybe do like dopamine detox in the morning, no phone, no external. Like you are being called to get in with you and listen to your heart. This oracle also says that a situation has either recently happened or is about to happen where you need to have your own back, where you cannot allow yourself to be tricked into backing down by the emotional reactions of others. So obviously, if you're stepping away from others, if you're stepping away from manipulation, if you're stepping away from other people's opinions, if you're saying, hey, I hear what you want me to do, but I'm going to do my own thing, um, when you do that, other people might not like it. And that's just a normal thing that happens, right? I don't know if this is family, if it's a relationship, if it's society, but when you start having your own back and saying, actually, I'm going to go with what I know, I'm not going to go with what you want, some people will not like that. And how this card said, you're going to know which relationships can come with you and which ones can't when you start focusing on yourself. Not only is your heart going to tell you, but how they react to your period of backing yourself is going to tell you. Because if you tell someone, hey, I cannot go with what you think, I have to go with what I think, and they react badly, they're not for your next phase. Your real ones are gonna back you, right? You know how it is when you tell your good friends, I need a little moment of solitude. I got to work on myself. And they're like, I love that for you. Hit me up when you're ready to come back. Those are your real ones. When you tell somebody that and they're like, well, where are you going? Why can't I go? Are you saying you don't love me? Are you, they can't come. They're not ready for the level you're headed to. It is a time for you to stay aligned with what you know to be true for yourself. No matter how good something seems logically on paper, if it doesn't feel right for you, it's not right, period. Take a step back. Maybe it'll feel right later. And I don't know who this is for. So I don't know if this is a relationship. I don't know if it's a job, right? You could be like, oh, my job, they're offering me all this money. They're offering me a raise, but I really want to quit and go work on my art, but it doesn't make sense on paper. If it doesn't feel right to you, it's not right. Right? You're in the relationship and everyone's like, oh, it makes so much sense. Like they're so good for you in all of these ways, but your heart says it's not right. It's not right. If your heart says it's not right right now, it's not right, period. Take the step back. Maybe it'll feel right later. But also, maybe when you step back, you're going to feel relieved and you're going to feel really glad you got out. You're not going to know until you take the step back. So either way, you got to back yourself up right now and not allow yourself to be swayed by other people's thoughts and opinions, no matter how highly you would have rated that opinion in the past, right? Even if it's a parent and usually you just do what they say because they're your elder and they know best, and you want to honor that. In this situation, you got to just allow yourself to have your own back. Again, this card talks about breaking with tradition. That's like such a theme in this. You're stepping away from tradition, a way of being, a role model, a way of believing that you've outgrown. And you've got to be there for yourself because you're on your own path in this life. And that's where you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be on your own path. The other thing this oracle says is if during this time you want to change your lifestyle, you want to do something healthy, you want to join a class, you want to start an art project, that's a really good thing for you to do right now. That's a really good way for you to be with yourself, is to be in something healthy for you that feels inspiring and exciting. Do that. That sounds great. But do it on your own for yourself because you want to. So, how do we deal with other people during this time of releasing allegiances? We restore and we replenish. So, restore and replenish, this is not about rest. This is about replenishment and revival. So, it's not just like go lay on a beach and take a vacation, though that can be nice. It's like break with your current routines and ways of being and do something different. Right now, you need variety, you need spice, you need change, you need fresh energy in your life and in your heart. Go some new places, meet some new people, take some different actions than you would normally take. If you are also new to starting to let your heart lead, restore and replenish can be about practicing letting your heart lead in small ways, right? So getting quiet with yourself and saying, just like, okay, I have a free day. Normally, I would plan something out and I would do my plan. And instead, I'm going to get quiet. I'm going to put my hands on my heart and I'm going to say, what do I feel like doing today? And your heart says, go to this cafe. Yeah, I've never been to that cafe. I keep driving by it. Okay, I'm going to go. And you go to the cafe and your heart says, smile at that baby, and you smile at the baby, and then you start talking to the baby's parent, and it turns out that baby's parent is somehow in the exact same field as you, and you end up exchanging numbers, and they invite you to do a project, right? Like that's what happens when we're heart led. We're acting on the impulse, we're following the pulse of our inner yes, our inner excitement, our inner knowing, and somehow like things just flow, right? It's that feeling of hitting every green light on the way somewhere. That's what it feels like when we're in a really good heart-led, responsive flow. And so one of the ways you can be in this period is having restore and replenish like adventure days for yourself where you have no plan and you just do the thing that feels right and the thing that feels right and the thing that feels right. You're driving somewhere and you get an intuitive hit, pull over and go to that restaurant. Go stop at that bookstore. Go do it. Just try stuff out that's different. Meet some new people. Do some different stuff than you would normally do. If you want to go back to your old routines later and it feels good for you to do that, that's fine. But for right now, this is actually about purposefully doing things that are uncomfortable and unfamiliar in a safe and controlled way because you're trying to do this big, uncomfortable, unfamiliar thing, which is live from your heart, right? So practice it in small ways that feel safe so that you can increase your tolerance for unfamiliar. This card also says you've been working really hard and you've accomplished a lot in your life, but you sell your accomplishments short and you focus too much on what you haven't done yet. And Source is telling you right now, it's time to take a break from, again, the endless lists in your mind and get into your body. It is time to experience yourself as nature, in nature, of nature. Remember how to just be. When you do that for a little while, you're going to feel more like yourself, and then you're going to feel more ready for the next phase. This doesn't have to take months. It can even just take a few days, but it has to be done. Sometimes when you feel like I'm too much in a rut, my plans aren't working, everything feels stuck, be like, I'm going to have a restore and replenish day. No plans on the calendar. I'm going to wake up and ask my body what feels right, and I'm going to do that all day long. Do that for a couple days and watch how stuff just starts to open up. Opportunities show up, people show up, connections show up, ideas show up. It just has to be done sometimes. You are in a very important transition period right now between one level of experience and your next, right? You're in a literal transition period, like Pisces season, right? The last sign of the zodiac, the integration of all of the other signs, the phase between the end of last year and the beginning of next on the zodiac. We're about to start all over with Aries season. We're about to come into spring, the final months of winter, this emerging, right? We're in an internal liminal phase from one level of experience to the next, from one level of consciousness to the next. Pisces is the sign of the dream world, the space of Neptune, the space of integrating spiritually everything we've experienced on this plane and then being ready to ground it back down into now I know exactly what I need and I'm fucking going for it when we step into a fire season. So, right now, in this liminal space between your old life and your new life, especially if you feel like you're treading water or you feel like you're in like a purgatory, like this phase between old life and new life has been taking a long time. This is especially true for you. This card says, have faith, chill out. This is where you're supposed to be right now. Another thing about the way our society works, right? The way the capitalism works is we have this pressure to always be moving forward. That's not real. That's not nature. Nature isn't always growing. Nature isn't always moving forward. Winter happens for a reason so that we can have spring, so that we can come back. Right now, you're in a breather between races. Your energy and power is going to return. You're going to be ready to bust out, right? Aries season's going to hit and everyone's going to be like, I know exactly what I need to do. Let's get it. Let's go. Right now, that's not where you're supposed to be. This is a season for be inward, get focused, figure out what the wild animal of my heart wants, let it want what it wants, so that when Aries season comes, I'm ready to take aligned action toward my dreams. If there's a new endeavor coming for you or you just started something new, this card also says it's a good thing for you. So this might be something that's about to show up, or maybe it has already shown up, and you're like worried that if you say yes to this thing, you're taking on too much. And you're also right, we're being encouraged to take time to rest and rebalance yourself, to focus inward. But because you also need some new and different experiences right now, it's a yes. Listen to your heart, obviously, listen to your body. This is not about listening to me over the oracle of yourself. So trust yourself. But if it feels right for you, if it's right for you. So even if on paper you're like, am I taking on too much? Is this too much? Can I really do this? If your heart says, yeah, I can do it and I need it and I want it and this is going to be good for me, go for it. Know that you are working to meet your own needs and that's healthy and good. Also, if you've been working on your own healing, your own spiritual healing, your own emotional healing, this oracle says that what you're doing is working. So keep on with the keeping on. So we get into what is a message right now from your spirit guides about how to handle this period. And the card is relax the hold of darkness and be at cause. What does that mean? What is the hold of darkness? What does it mean to be at cause? The hold of darkness is your damn mind. The hold of darkness is the monkey mind in your head that says, play small. Don't do it. You shouldn't do that. You should listen to your logic. You should do what your dad says, right? Like whatever that shit is, that's the hold of darkness. Being at cause means you alone are the person who gets to make the right decision for you. Not society, not your parents, not conditioning, not your ancestors, not your past, not the books you've read, not your job, not your spouse. You. You are the cause of your happiness or your unhappiness in your own life. You're in a moment, right? This is the message from your spirit guides right now. You're in a moment that requires a lot of courage. And the good news is you have that. You're being asked to allow yourself to be lifted from one level of reality and move to another. Remember, I said every single message in these cards is consistent. Restore and replenish says you in a phase of life, you're moving from one to the next. Releasing allegiances, you're in a phase of life, you're moving from one level to the next. Every single card is confirming you're in a transition. So Spirit says, bitch, you're in a transition. That doesn't mean you do more. It means let go, surrender, let us lift you. Let yourself be lifted. Let yourself be helped. Let yourself be carried. You've been living in this way from your mind where you're trying to swim upstream against the current as hard as you can. You've been kicking your little legs and fighting. Flip onto your back, open your arms, let go. We're going to get you there. Let us move you. Let God move you. Let us live through you. Allow yourself to be lifted from one level of reality to another. And what you have to do that is trust. You need a heart full of trust. You need to trust that you are surrounded by goodness. You need to be surrendered to the universe and to God so that life can happen through you more quickly, more radically, more boldly. When we're not trying to control everything, when we release, when we surrender, that's when life can happen through us. Right? That's when we can remember that every single conversation we have is God speaking to us through another human being. That's when we remember how to listen, when we're not trying to control everything and analyze everything from our mind. It's the hardest way to live. You're being invited into a new realm of reality where things are going to happen more quickly with boldness, with loving optimism. But to get to that, means you have to leap from the known into the unknown, from an old way of being into something you've never experienced before. And that is scary. And people might think you're crazy. You're going to have to leave procrastination, hesitation, second guessing yourself, and feeling like you have to do everything by yourself. We got to leave the hyper independence. That is going to make you fear for your fucking life because it's going to be so uncomfortable. That is ego death. That feeling of this is so hard. Letting go of my shadow, the hold of darkness, letting go of procrastination, hesitation, second guessing myself, and feeling like I have to do everything myself. Kill me now. That is your ego death, right? Your ego wants to know what's going to happen. Your ego wants to know, how am I going to possibly be safe if you let yourself feel so alive? How will you live if you're not playing small? If you're not taking too long? If you're not prioritizing everything and everybody else above your own truth, above your art, above your soul mission? How are you going to hold yourself back if you let go of your fears and start being surrendered to life? How are you going to be safe if you don't people please and play small? Spirit says you don't have to worry about that shit. Life is wild, but it is also wise. You're not going to be led anywhere you can't handle. This transition is big. You're going to want to turn away. You're going to feel like it's too much. Your mind is going to go crazy for a minute and try to come up with a bunch of excuses about how the thing you want is impossible, or you're being flighty, or you're being flaky, or you're not living in the real world. You're not grounded in reality. But we're not listening to the mind anymore. We're listening to the heart, right? That hold of darkness, we should wait. The timing's not right yet. We should play small. That's just fear. That's not love. That's not truth. Nature knows. Nature knows timing. The life, death, life cycle. That is the creative process. Things grow, things die, things grow again. We don't have to be so afraid of the deaths. We're in a death season. Life just knows. Nature just knows. And we are nature. We are part of nature. So we can trust that to support us in becoming what we need to become this winter so that we can reblossom. Now, this doesn't mean we get passive. It means we become a champion for our own truth. It's not like, oh, I surrender. I'm not doing anything. I'm going to wait for life to knock on my door. No. A champion for your own truth. We free ourselves. We act on and affirm our intuition. We follow up on our inner knowing. We follow up on those nudges. We listen. We are obedient to that inner knowing. That means if you're writing, but you don't know what you're going to write, just write. You want to paint, but you have no idea what you're going to paint, paint. Dance like a crazy person. Let go of trying to control the outcome so much. Let go of whatever the mind would say about how it's not enough or it's not the best. And instead, just let it be what it is. The things you want to create, just let them be what they are. It might be the best thing ever. It might suck. That doesn't matter. That's not the point of creating. Do you think nature, before it grows a flower, is like, but is it going to be the best flower? Because if it's not, I'm not growing. No, we just grow and then things die and then they grow again. That's what we're meant to do. That's what we're here to be a part of. All of nature, including you and your dreams and your passions, are going to be exactly what is needed, when it's needed, how it's needed, according to divine wisdom. We just have to trust ourselves and nature and participate in the flow of life. When we're tight, when we're trying to control everything, we're not participating in the flow of life. Dive off the edge into the unknown, into the more that awaits you. It is your time. Leap and you will be caught. One of my favorite quotes is, after you leap and before you land is God. After you leap and before you land is God. That's where you're at right now. In the air, in the free fall, in the wily coyote, running your feet as fast as you can, but you haven't fallen yet. And then there's that moment, right? He looks at the camera and he goes, ah, shit. And he just lets himself fall. That's where you're at right now. You got to just trust that you're going to land on a giant trampoline. So, what is our final message from Spirit about this? The card that comes up is the perfection of your life. When we look at this card, we see this sacred geometry pattern. This card is about what a storm looks like from above, right? If you've ever seen on like weather reports what a storm system looks like from above, and it's beautiful and it's crystalline and it looks like geometry and it's so gorgeous. And then you think about what a storm feels like when you're on the ground and you're in a storm cellar fighting for your life and hoping your house doesn't blow away. It feels crazy when you're in it. And so you try to fight it and you try to cling, right? The perfection of your life is that the storm is going to storm, and it's supposed to. That's what it's meant to do. So from the ground, it feels crazy. But in reality, from that 20,000-foot view, it is a beautiful pattern. So even if everything feels crazy right now, which it must, if we're all in this liminal phase between one level of being and another, if we're all letting things go, if we're all turning inward, if we're all realizing that the way we've been living is not surrendered to truth and that we have to change, it feels like shit. That's not a fun thing. It's not comfortable. All is unfolding in perfect order. You're not forgotten. You're not forsaken. God is not testing you. You're not being punished. You've not been found wanting. You're not being judged. Storms come to clear things out. That is their job. There are so many plants that can only grow after a storm. There are plants that can only grow after a forest has been leveled by fire. There are things that can only grow after everything has been cleared away. And again, we are nature. You're not exempt from that. So this storm, this chaos that you're experiencing or that you will soon experience, if you can't relate to this, it's coming. Sorry, I love you. You got to let the storm be the storm. Also, sometimes the storm is your feelings. There's pent up stuff sometimes that like the storm is in you. It's building up. There's all this stuff you haven't expressed, all these things you haven't said, all this blocked energy in your body that you've been holding because you've been scared and you've been tight, and you've been trying to control everything. You got to let yourself express what needs to express and release any blocked energy in your heart, and then ask life what to do next and move with trust. So your message from spirit right now about how to bring all this to form is don't fucking fight it. Do not fight it. Let it happen. Surrender to it. That Wile E. Coyote moment. Look at the camera and let yourself fall. It's all going to be okay. But if you fight it, it's going to take longer. So the more you can surrender, the faster all of this transition is going to happen. I always ask for what the shadow is for this season, and the shadow of this season is strength. Essentially, again, you need a lot of strength and resilience and courage right now to allow yourself to go through this period. You need to be willing to be uncomfortable. You have to be willing to adjust, to transition, to experience loss, and to change. Again, it was loud and clear that some relationships are not coming with you to this next level. So if part of the control is about abandonment, is about if I let is scarcity, right? If I let go of this relationship, will there be other relationships? Yes, there will. You'll be fine, right? If I let go of these friends, will I have other friends? Yes, there are better things waiting for you. So we have to be willing to experience that loss. And that takes a lot of courage, right? To believe in something we haven't seen yet takes a lot of courage. Anyone can believe what they see. Faith requires believing what you don't see, and that's harder. So our shadow right now is we're having trouble believing in the things we can't see. Are you sure I'm going to be all right? Are you sure there's going to be money? Are you sure there's going to be people? Are you sure I'm going to be safe? You're going to be all right. We have to have patience. And it literally says again, ride out the storm. We have to be willing to do it without a map. We have to be willing to do it without our mind trying to plan everything out. And we just have to trust that it will all pass and we're going to get where we need to go. The other shadow here, again, is about letting go of self-reliance, letting go of hyper-independence, not self-reliance. We should be self-reliant, but letting go of the hyper-independence where we feel like we have to do everything ourselves. The animal for this card is the orca, the killer whale. And it's called a killer whale because it's ferocious, but it is also a gentle giant who lives in the same pod for its entire life. And they hunt for the pod. They hunt together to protect the pod. The orca teaches us we're not alone. We have to hold together. We have to call on community. We have to hold counsel. We have to let people help us and be there for us when we navigate through tough times and feel how held we are, right? Again, nature knows that it's interconnected. It never doubts, right? Again, the flower is not like, well, if I can't grow without rain or sun, I'm just not growing. No, I need all of it. And it's going to need me, right? The soil is going to need me to decompose. The bees are going to need me to pollinate, right? We're all part of this interconnected cycle. That's what we're here to be. Capitalism separates us, patriarchy separates us, right? We are here to be connected. The stone for this period, for this shadow is labradorite. So if you have a labradorite, that's a hard word to say, stone, maybe carry it right now. Labradorite opens up our psychic and intuitive abilities. It strengthens our will and it protects our personal energy. Labradorite is helpful when we're working through challenges and when we need to protect ourselves from getting drained or taking on energies or opinions that are not our own. So you can see why that would be a really good stone to have on your person. If you have a little piece of jewelry, if you have one of those necklaces that has the stone holder in it, you can pop one in there, carry it in your pocket, rocks in your bra, you know how we do. Do whatever you need to do. But if you can grab a labradorite and cleanse it, it might be a good thing to have on you during Pisces season. Okay, so that's the message. That's what came through. If it was resonant for you, I would love to hear about it. If you're listening to this on the podcast, you can email me intuitiveedgecoaching@gmail.com, or you can holler at me on Instagram at intuitiveedgecoaching. If you're watching on YouTube, leave a comment and let me know. If you're watching on Instagram, leave a comment and let me know. I would love to hear if this was resonant for you. I know it hit for me. So whatever it is that you're feeling, I just feel called to say, like, this is a heavy reading, and um I can't wait for the glow up. I cannot wait for the glow up. I know that it's going to be so, so big and so, so good. And just that I want to remind us that surrender is the hardest spiritual concept to embody. It's a fancy word that gets thrown around, but to actually surrender, everything in us fights, right? Because we want to control everything so bad. But for real, for real, for real, and it helps sometimes to do mushrooms to remember this, we don't control nothing. We never have, never will. We're not in charge of any of this. So the best thing you can do is trust yourself and trust life to get you where you need to go, because it's all ordained. It's all going to happen. What is for you is never going to miss you no matter what. You're not off your path ever, even when it feels like you're so far away. You're not. You're exactly where you're supposed to be all the time. I want to encourage us once again, my homework for you, quiet morning time. I think it would also be good if you can do like 10, 15 minutes of journaling in the evening just to reflect on your day and what your day felt like and what happened. Not in a chronological way, but like, oh, there was a moment where I had an internal nudge to do something. Did I follow it or did I not? Did I trust it or did I not? Did I override with my head? Get curious with yourself. So taking that quiet time right now to listen, taking that meditation time, commit to that for this month at least. In Aries season, we can all fucking be nuts, I'm sure. So thank you so much for being here. I'm seeing the comments on Instagram. Thank you for all of you for being here. I'm so glad that this was resonant for you. Sarah Chick said, I'm a double Pisces, so I'm dying a lot LMAO. The dying is good. We welcome the dying. It's not fun. Ego death is not fun. This is not a fun phase, but oh, the glow up. Oh, it's so good on the other side. And then we just do it all again. My last little announcements before we go. Next week, I am teaching a 3-day intensive called the Artful Marketing Intensive. I am going to help you market your art. I'm going to help you market your work. If you're a person who has a business or you have art that you're trying to promote and create, and you find yourself getting hung up on how to post, what to post, you procrastinate with posting, you don't share, you don't send your emails, you want to start your YouTube channel, but you haven't yet, you want to start your podcast, but you're scared, come to the Artful Marketing Intensive. We're going to go really deep on understanding a new way of looking at marketing and reframing it through the lens of your own artistry and your own creativity, and folding the work of marketing your art into your or marketing your work, right? Whatever that is, into your art, into your creative practice. We're going to shift our focus out of people pleasing and trying to build an audience into how do we grow a genuinely engaged community around our thought leadership, around our ideas, around our creations. And then we're going to get into real nitty gritty, like how to write good copy, how to create compelling content, how to schedule, how to batch, even if you have ADHD like me and you've never batched anything but cookies in your life. So Artful Marketing Intensive is 3 days. It is Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, February 24, 25, 26 from 10 to 11 a.m. PST. There will be recordings. You'll get the recordings forever. There's a workbook. You get the workbook forever. It's $279. You can buy it on my website right now. Go to Instagram, comment on any Artful Marketing post, just comment the word art and you'll get the link, or you can DM me for the link. If you need a payment plan, and there's not one up there, there isn't one up, it's just $279. But if you need a payment plan, if you want me to split it into two or something, just hit me up. I'll make it happen for you. That's it and that's all. Okay, love you, bye.